Hi, my name's Ralph. I'm from 89 Friends with that left gill sack from the face hugger. So in my one of my other day jobs, I'm a technology strategist, so I help organizations get competitive advantage from up-and-coming tech like 3D printing and other interesting things. So in our little studio, we do serious games, games for learning, that sort of stuff, and at the moment we've just launched a Kickstarter ardent RPG for bringing augmented reality to tabletop role-playing games. So you've got your existing role-playing games, and you can put a token down, and then you get AR, scenery, and things along those lines. So we're good with tech. We use motion capture suits and 3D printing and all the kind of really fun toy stuff. And when Alex and I were talking the other day, he said it might be nice to just do a quick chat about how some of that might apply to stuff here. I should set my timer so I don't completely lose track. I'm a former lecturer, so I can just talk and talk. I think the interesting thing around it, what I wanted to kind of talk about was how we use tech in what we do, because that probably gives the best example. So, you know, the obvious things is stuff like 3D printing for prototyping is really great. It's not that it's faster, it's not, but it's repeatable. And that kind of hits to some of the issues of really playing to what technology does well. Usually it's much faster to say, here's a cork and a knife, and I can quickly hack out a game piece. So I've got something that's roughly okay for a prototype. But if I want to make that game piece and I want to tweak it a bit, I have to start with a new cork and do it again. So that kind of, like really looking at how to use tech in that kind of space is whenever you've got something that you're going to iterate and do again and again, then it probably gets to the point where it's easier to use something that can do that iteration for you with small tweaks. And the second time, and the third time, and the fifth time, and the 10th time, just running those 3D prints overnight is so much faster than the first time. The other thing, there was a really interesting discussion on a board game Facebook group the other day where somebody complained about getting a board game that needed a companion app. And lots of people going, oh my God, yes, companion apps, don't get me started. And then quite a few people saying, yeah, but I love Werewolf with the companion app because it's so much better, or XCOM. And I think the thing that it really picked out as well was the other kind of great benefit of tech. Tech is really good at managing information. And as games designers, we know that one of the games mechanics that you can use is the information mechanic. What information do you show and what do you not show, and how do you slowly unfold that, and how do you play with that? And in kind of physical tabletop games, we can do that with cards. You get that card and this card and you shuffle, and you've got secret mission cards, like in Twilight Imperium 3. Do you have mission cards? Anyway. We'll fix that. And that's, again, one of the things where, doing this kind of withholding information or showing partial information, there are only a few ways in which you can do that with tabletop games. And that's why we've got the Ardent RPG as well. So, what you can allow with technology is do more of that mix where you can say that the computer manages who gets what information and when. It can be preset by the GM. And again, it's another kind of point of really understanding what the strengths of technology are and playing to those. So I think in terms of if you want to kind of bring tech into your tabletop game design, really looking at that as well. I'd say look at the iterative kind of boring tasks that seem really slow the first time you do it, but that you realize if I had to do this 5,000 times, RSI and stuff, I'd much rather get a technology to do it. And secondly, managing information. And then the third one is the other thing that I guess with that really kind of, it's always funny talking about tech as being leading edge or bleeding edge. Augmented reality, it's a big thing at the moment, partly because Apple are pushing it right now with iOS 11 and ARKit, and of course Google immediately went AR Core and released their stuff, which although they've been working on it for years with Project Tango, having devices that can do AR a lot better. But I think in that sense, AR is kind of a good thing at the moment. Now, where we are using it is in the way that I think it really should be used, that the A from AR needs to hold true. It needs to augment reality, not replace it. It's not virtual reality. A friend of mine, or a former student of mine, is currently working in Holland, and he posted a photo a couple of months ago of virtual reality cinema that he walked past, and it was basically a room full of beanbags and people just lounging around going, you know, they all got goggles on. It was the most bizarre photo. It was fantastic. But, you know, kind of weird, and not, I think, what we in kind of tabletop games kind of really like, which is that interaction sense. But with AR, you can augment what's there. So what we're doing with Ardent RPG, for example, is that, you know, you can do scenery that you can't afford, like an ocean with a whirlpool and kraken and stuff. Because trying to make that, you know, with all the resin and all the things, and then trying to somehow animate it with, you know, little robot arms and stuff, it's just going to be super expensive, you know, for 30 minutes in a campaign, and then you've got to move on to something else. But if you've got small components within what you're doing, what you say, hey, we've got lots of stuff, we've got minis, we've got all the other things, but we just want to throw some other cool stuff on top that will just spice it up a bit, and whether it is for kind of flavor, or whether it is for the kind of information mechanics. So in Ardent RPG, for example, the rogue, you know, everybody might see that there's a road, the rogue sees the trap, the wizard sees the bait, the sparkly magical item, and if the rogue doesn't tell the mage might make the wrong decision. And of course the rogue normally, I tend to like playing rogues, the rogue normally doesn't tell the mage. And as my mage friend says, oh, the rogue seems to have been inside that zone of my next attack thing again. Oh, oopsie, sorry about that. That's all good. But I think that sense then is, you know, there's so much stuff that you can do with AR these days to really kind of add just an extra flavor. It's shiny, it's nice, it can add scenery and layers to it that, you know, if we're playing kind of Euro games with cubes, having AR cubes isn't really that exciting. But if you want to kind of play stuff more where the game world unfolds and has kind of a bigger sense to it, it can be really nice. And it's something to consider. Another project that you might all be interested in, if you've got games that you're making, is called Ardent Rules. And effectively, it's an augmented reality app that you as game makers contact us and say, yeah, we want to be part of Ardent Rules. And for players, you'd be sitting around the table and you're saying, hey, I've got this secret mission card, but I don't quite remember what it exactly means. And I'm not going to ask anybody because it's a secret mission card. So there's this constant kind of handing around of the manual, people looking at which page is he looking at. Rather than doing that, you get out your phone, you point it at the card, and it uses it as an augmented reality marker, and then kind of pulls out the rules, might show them in 3D or in other stuff here that jumps here, depending on what your game is. But it also means that it's a way for you to be able to push out updates, FAQs, corrections, and all that other stuff to it. And of course, we all use technology all the time already in board games, because who here hasn't played at least one board game where they've watched a how-to-play video on YouTube beforehand? And I think that's another big thing. One of the things that we're looking at is, given that we've got the infrastructure with augmented reality and all this stuff as well, is that for Ardent Rules, you'll be able to kind of put into it the 3D models of how your game should be set up. So you can basically kind of look at the tab and go, oh yeah, that goes over there. Okay, dip, 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 dip. Is that all in the right place? And just get those other kind of hints. So there's a whole lot of ways in which technology can make things easier for you in your manufacturing process, for the people who are running a game, like in a GM sense, like in terms of the information mechanic, and for the players in terms of actually playing in a game of just understanding things more quickly or setting games up more quickly and things like that. We're invited everybody to kind of join the Ardent RPG Kickstarter. Nobody leaves this room alive. Yeah, I think those were kind of the main points. I should look at my fountain pen blank piece of paper list. As a technologist, I love writing with pens, videos, prototype, expansions. Yeah, that pretty much captures it. Thank you very much.